And what children need is just a calm and regulated mother. This gives them the safety to be able to mature and develop into resilient and independent adults. And I believe that's what all parents want. Most moms today, they're just worn out, they're tired, they're overwhelmed by all the sheer demands of motherhood. And so it feels impossible to meet our own needs, like even just our basic needs, much less identify the more complex ones like connection, understanding, support, affection. And so it's totally okay if you're feeling like you don't even know where to begin. You're like, I don't even have time for my own needs. It's okay, because I felt the same exact way. But I want to show you that just by starting to become aware of those needs within yourself, you are going to feel so much more vibrant and alive just by prioritizing yourself a little bit more. So in today's episode, I'm going to walk you through my journey of understanding that I was in this victim mentality, this victim pattern, and how I found vibrancy and became this loving, empathetic, patient, calm mom that I truly never thought I would be. Welcome back to season 2 of the Slowish Parenting Podcast. This is a place for you to find hope. I want you to have hope that you can become the happiest version of yourself through motherhood. If you're a cycle breaker, you also don't like following the rules of parenting, and you're ready to awaken your innate design as a mother, then you are in the right place. Alrighty, let's get into today's episode. Hello and welcome back to season 2. Gosh, I am so excited for today's episode. This is a topic. Needs is something I've wanted to talk about for forever. I love talking about needs. When I first came to the realization that I had needs and they actually mattered, this shifted my whole world. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that I've never given myself the ability to meet my needs. And granted, I didn't even know how to communicate my needs. That was the crazier part, is I didn't even know I had certain needs until I started studying it. And I was like, oh my gosh, there's so much more than these 3 basic needs that I'm thinking I need, So we're going to dive into all of that. But today's episode is really a product of something I've been working on the last couple months, I guess. I found out I was pregnant, baby number 3, just after I decided to pause this podcast, right when I closed season 1. And it was so cool and timely because I found out I was pregnant and I immediately just felt this need to just be within my own body, to not have outside noise, to resource myself, to give myself a foundation for this baby. I wanted my body to be calm. I wanted to resource everything that this child needed and not have my energy going all over the place, which can happen when, especially, I was getting into a season of burnout. And, many of you know I actually stopped season 1 because I was just tired of fighting algorithms and fighting all the things that come along with podcasting. So I opened Unscripted for a short season, and that was a huge blessing. And it's what really encouraged me to share this, I was actually doing an episode in there talking about feelings and needs and how that relates to kids. And I was relating it to myself and my story, which I'll share a little bit about here too. And what I kept feeling is I know that this is reaching you because you absolutely need to hear it. You need to hear that your needs matter, that you as a mom also may not know your own needs, and that's okay, but you can figure them out. You can communicate them, and that is the most important part of this journey. For me, when I learned how to communicate these things, specifically to my husband, but to everybody, my world got easier. And this actually led into me being able to see my child, their behaviors in a completely different light. This helped me to get a better grasp of why I had anxiety, why I would rage, and knowing that I just had to get down to the root of my needs was everything. And so, yeah, it's been cool to watch this pregnancy. It's so drastically different than my other two. I have so much more energy. I've had like some food aversions, but they like come and go. And I feel amazing. And that's what really inspired today's episode was like, I want other moms to experience this, not necessarily in pregnancy, but I want you to see that you don't need to be a martyr. You don't need to just think about everybody else's needs to be a good mom. Actually, being the best mom is caring about yourself, caring about your nervous system, caring about your body, caring about what your actual needs are, which we'll get to these more hypothetical needs as well, and just why they're so important for you as a mother. So I want to start by saying that your basic needs, which are, we're talking sleep, food, nourishment, a roof over your head. I think these are like the three that I thought of early on. These are important. I mean, these are probably like the most vitally important, right? Like you're not going to survive without food. You're not going to survive without water, and you're not going to survive without sleep. It's just not going to happen. But these are like the basics. And if you're listening to this, because I was in this season when I first was introduced to this, there's actually 8, and I wrote them down that my teacher had given me 8 basic needs. Basic needs, by the way. And I was meeting maybe 2 of them. We'll read through them. 2 or 3 of them. And I was blown away that I could neglect myself and be okay with that. That I could neglect myself and expect myself to be a good mom. To expect myself to care about my children, to be kind, to be loving, empathetic, to actually mother in a way that I was proud of when I had no ground to stand. I had no foundation. It was basically a sinking foundation at that point. So I think back to that season and how I just felt like I was drowning and I thought I was never going to meet these needs. And so what I want to encourage you today is just make one small goal, one small shift into the 8 basic needs, and then actually start diving into I'm calling them hypothetical needs, but we'll get to like the more technical stuff in a bit with that. But let's actually break down like what can I do within each basic need to meet that. This does not have to take forever, by the way. This isn't like that was the other thing that was hard for my mind to get over is like, I can't take that much time for myself. Oh, yes, you can. And your children will be better for it. And also they are learning from you. They are learning how to take care of themselves, how to care for this body that they were given, which is, I think, one of the best gifts that we can give our children. How do I take care of my mental health? How do I take care of my physical body? How do I take care of my relationships? Like, these are actual parenting things. These are the parenting things we should care about, not so much the behavior, which I dove a lot into in Unscripted. If you still want to join, the community is closed, although you can still get access to all of the season 1 podcast of Unscripted, which is basically just the parenting side of things. This is more like the mom side of things. But if you care more about the parenting side of things, you want to dive more into that, that's a great resource for you. But to go back to these basic needs, I just wish I knew that even things could be like brought together. Like, didn't just have to do one thing at one time and each thing didn't have to be 15, 20 minutes. And also my kids could be integrated into it. Huge thing that I love about the book. Here, let me grab it. Hunt, Gather, Parent. This book helped me to integrate my kids into my life. It helped to show me that other cultures, it's not normal to tell my kids like, just go play. Like, kids are supposed to be involved. This is a nervous system thing for me. It's a nervous system thing that I feel uncomfortable. I feel heightened. I feel stressed. I feel all the things towards my children, angry, blame, shame, all the things. I feel that because one, I don't know how to incorporate them in, but 2, I am so dysregulated. And I need to calm my body. I need to bring myself back to center. And so when we talk about the nervous system piece of this, it's like, how do I start regulating my nervous system? Gosh, go back to your basic needs. I love Irene Lyon. And in one of her talks, she talks about like our basic biological needs. And that is like the first thing that we're doing when we're learning to regulate our nervous system. Are you going to the bathroom when you feel like you have to go to the bathroom? Are you acknowledging that you're hungry when you're actually hungry? Are you resting when you're tired instead of pushing yourself? And you can do this all with kids. That's the crazier part for me. That was like, no, there's no way. But like, you can. Absolutely possible. I've done it this entire pregnancy, and it's just given me so much life. I think the pregnancy is what actually taught me, like, I can care for my own needs, and they actually matter, and I can actually feel really good because of it. Okay, so let's get into the 8 basic needs. I'm not sure actually where my mentor got this from. So if somebody knows, I don't know if she created this or if it came from somebody else, but it was just in my notes randomly. So I'm going to share it with you. Okay, so the 8 things. Number 1, sleep. I'm sure you could have guessed that. I'm going to say here, if you could just make it a goal that, like, if you have a child that's co-sleeping, nursing, middle of the night, you actually might need to stretch your night to like 10 to 11 hours. You're not sleeping that whole time, but you're giving yourself a window to be able to sleep a full 7 to 8 hours. And so can I just stretch that? And it's amazing to see how much different you react the next day, and doing things like writing this down, journaling, taking notes. How do you feel after you've done this? Do you feel more patient? And showing your brain that these things work. That's a huge, huge piece of this. Number 2 is going to be nourishing foods. Think about, minerals in our water, adding, kind of like magnesium in there, having just whole foods. Something we did all summer that I just felt like set me up so well for pregnancy was we went to the farmer's market every single Saturday and we got fresh food, and I felt alive. Like, I literally felt alive, and I never experienced that before. So can you eat more whole foods? Maybe you can't go to a farmer's market. It's winter here, so we can't go to one. But maybe what you do instead is you're like, I'm going to prioritize fruit. Like, I've been buying a ton of fruit. It's out of season, okay? And I know that that's not great, right? Like, I would ideally like to have in-season fruit. But right now where I'm at in pregnancy, oranges are the best. Oranges just give me so much life. Watermelon keeps me regular. And my midwife was laughing at me yesterday, and I was like, I don't care that it's not in season. I need it right now. That's just what I need. I'm sure there'll be a time in my life where I can figure out what else I need that's not like these fresh fruits and things that I feel like are making me feel really good. But how can I nourish myself right now? Like, what feels really good in my body? Another thing I've been doing is like tea. Oat straw, nettle, doesn't matter if you're pregnant, trying to get pregnant, not trying to get pregnant. I love oat straw and nettle. If you're not pregnant, doing it with red raspberry leaf tea I just feel fueled. I put a little bit of honey in with some salt. Oh, it's amazing. So yeah, can you do that? Like, can you just start giving yourself these nutrients to build this foundation on? I could talk forever here, but yeah, that's just that. How can you make a small shift here? Remember, that's what each of these are. Number 3, movement. Can you just go take a walk with your kids? Can you go outside? Can you dance with your kids? Can you walk through the grass? Can you, if it's wintertime, can you do a dance party in the living room? You don't have to have like, okay, I'm going to work out. I'm going to do the specific thing for myself. You don't have to do that. You can invite your kids in, which that for me was like a huge mind thing. But once you start doing it and your kids actually start noticing like this is for you, they respect it. And that's the coolest part for me is like now I do work out 3 to 4 days a week. And my kids, like, they watch me do it and then they go play on their own and they come back and they check in and they kind of go off and play on their own. And they used to cry during every single workout. So just so you know where we came from. Like, we used to come from like meltdowns and it made me not want to work out. But with time, small little shifts, finally was able to work up to working out. And now it's just normal life and they just do their own thing while I work out. And it's just that, So yeah, what small shift can you make with movement? Okay, number 4 is time for both focus and concentration. So maybe this is reading a self-help book. Maybe this is working on your side hustle. Maybe this is just journaling. What can you do that you can like put your all in focus in? This is what you would do during a nap time. This is what you would do when your husband gets home and you're like, hey, I need a half hour. This is what you do when you have that little bit of time to yourself. And you might need to make shifts and tell your husband, hey, I need some time for focus. Can we figure out a way to carve that out every day? Figuring that out, that system. Again, what small shift can you make here? Number 5 is play. So is there a craft you really enjoy? Could you, something for me that I love is like trying new recipes, reading recipe books. My kids read recipe books with me. They love it. So what can you do to encourage that creative side of you? And if you don't know, try different things. That's the fun part. Go to Hobby Lobby, pick something out, try it, see what you think. Things that are simple and easy that you can take out and do even when your kids. Something I love right now is like cross stitch or hand embroidery. I've been doing it since I've been little. Actually, my grandma taught me how to do it. And I mean, nothing I've done is like super intricate, but gosh, the process is just so healing and soothing for me. I also love crocheting. It's so easy to pull out. So it's like, what little craft, what little thing can I do that can fill me up and make me feel like I've played, like I've been creative? Number 6 is connection. Connection with your kids counts. If it feels like something that fills you and gives you energy, it's a connection with a friend. Is it sending a voice message? Is it listening to a voice message? Can you connect? Maybe it's your mom. Maybe you're calling her daily or every few days. Maybe this looks like connection with your husband. Maybe it looks like a 10-minute just sit down and talk and have tea after dinner. What can you do to fill that need for connection? And it might look different day to day, by the way. You might meet up with a friend and meet your need for connection while the kids play at the park. Every day is going to look different, but this is a need that I think moms are chronically today unmet in. Number 7, downtime. This is that time for rest. So hindsight 2020, when I was newly postpartum with my girls, I was prioritizing cleaning during nap time. And I wish that I prioritized rest. Either taking a nap, which could also go in the sleep category, but I think at this stage, that's just rest. It's just being, just being relaxed, just being. And I also think that this could just be maybe again, we're pairing things together. Maybe this goes with play. Maybe your downtime is just sitting on the couch and just crocheting. Maybe it's just sitting there, just being, like literally just being in silence and presence, so incorporating downtime into your day doesn't have to be a long time, but just a few minutes here and there. And the last thing is called time in. So I want you to think of things like reflection, journaling, mindfulness, prayer, your Bible. This is an incredibly important part of your day. And so how can I have time in? And so I kind of pair these things again together. So I'll do like downtime. I'll have some rest, and then I'll start to kind of feel, this has been a huge thing this pregnancy, I'll start to feel better. So then I'll pull out my Bible and I'll read, and then I'll journal a little bit. And then my kids are still playing really well, so then I'll pull out my crochet and I'll crochet, and then maybe the rest of the day we do homeschool and we do all this other stuff, and it's fine that we didn't, I didn't sit and read for 5 hours, but I think that moms just think it's like an all or nothing. And I just want you to know that it's not all or nothing. You get to make time for yourself, and your kids are actually going to be better humans because of it. Because you're going to be more regulated. You're going to be more patient. You're going to be more understanding. You're going to have more empathy. You're not going to feel like you need bribes, and you're not going to feel like you need punishments. And you're just going to be overall happier, and they are going to enjoy being in your presence. They're going to enjoy your home. And that's the greatest gift we can give our kids. So keep that in mind as you're going through these. But what we just went through is the 8 basic needs. Your 8 basics. That's it. Your 8 basics. And this can feel incredibly difficult. So start here. Start making small shifts towards these. But next, what I want to move into is needs that are universal for all human beings. So these kinds of needs are what I would term as like that hypothetical needs. And these are vitally important. They're just less tangible than the 8 that I was sharing earlier. They're also more complex. It's not just as simple as like X happened, so this is what I'm needing. There's a bit of, I would say, emotional intelligence that goes into this. It's knowing yourself and being really deeply rooted and connected in yourself, partly what I teach in the Calm Mama Blueprint, because I think this is a huge part of who we are as a mom and how we react as a mom. What we know is that needs are what motivate behaviors. So when we look at like our children, we know that a child's need, let's go back. So our child's behavior is just their best attempt to get a need met. And for us, it's the same way. So I look at a child who goes and pushes over their sibling. This is a very common one. And mom comes over, she gets really upset, she yells at the child, and then they reconnect. She, has a moment, she hears and sees the child, and then the child does it again and again and again. And this is the child's way of basically connecting to mom and saying, hey, I need connection. And I know in the ickiest way that you're going to give that to me by yelling at me, by screaming at me. I am going to get my need met for connection by you coming over here, essentially. And this was me. This was my story. My youngest would hit over my littlest and I would get angry and I'd get defensive and I'd get judgmental and I'd come over and huff and puff. And then I would have a reconnection process when I'd be like, I'm so sorry, honey. Mama shouldn't have yelled at you like that. I love you so much. You're such a sweet girl, blah, blah, blah. I'd go through this whole thing. And what that would do is it would give her need for connection, but in the ickiest, grossest way possible, right? And her brain learned that, so she did it over and over and over again. And so when we look at our own needs, what behaviors are we displaying to get these needs met? And so I'm going to share a personal story. So when I was younger, I was actually really badly bullied, very badly bullied. And I switched schools 6 times. And when I got older, and I would say this was just a couple of years ago, when I started really diving into like, why was I bullied so much? Like, why did this happen? What was wrong with me? That was kind of what I said in the beginning. And I realized along the way that me being a victim from a bully was actually serving me. It was actually meeting my need to be seen, to be heard, to be loved, to be cared for. And this was how I did that. And so I would become friends with people who were bullies. I would become friends with somebody who had this tendency to kind of gang up and be mean. And I could sense that. I mean, not consciously, but this is very subconscious. And so primally, my brain knew that if I was bullied, my mom, my dad, they would see me, they would hear me, they would show me care and love and affection. And no fault of my parents there. They were doing the best they could with the knowledge they knew, but my brother was into sports. And so he was always seen, always heard, always attention there. And so subconsciously, this was my way of victimizing myself to get my need met, to be loved and cared for. And the sad part about this is I carried this all the way through into my marriage. So when I look back at both of my girls not sleeping at night, the next day, you want to know what I would do? I would complain to my husband, the kids didn't sleep last night and I'm so tired and she was up for 3 hours and blah, 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 she went nurse and this and that and blah, 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 blah. And he would be like, oh, honey, I'm so sorry. I love you. It's okay. It's going to be okay. She's going to get better. And he'd give me a hug and he'd love me. And looking back, like in the first couple of weeks before we had a king bed, so with both of my girls, we had queen. And basically he would just go sleep in a different room because I felt like I took up the whole bed with nursing and the kids. And I don't know, I had pillows and it was chaotic. It was a mess. And so that caused separation, right, between us. Physically, we were not connected, not together. And then he was working a lot. And so I rarely saw him. So instead of saying, hey, babe, I'm having this need to be seen. I'm having this need for love. I'm having this need for connection, for affection. I'm needing support. I'm needing help. Instead of saying these things, what I did was I victimized myself at the expense of my children. And so what that taught me is that being a victim would get my need met. So now it's like, okay, I know that I have this tendency to victimize. And maybe for you, it's you martyr, it can just be so different for each, mom, depending on your circumstances, your childhood, and what your actual need is. But if you have a need, let's just say for love, for support, for affection, how are you going to get that met without communicating it if you don't even know it? If you don't understand that you have a need for this, how are you going to communicate that? Like it doesn't make sense. So this is why I think knowing these hypothetical needs is so vitally important. So I love this quote by Marshall Rosenberg. He says that needs are the resources and values that sustain and enrich life. And so I just want you to think about that. Like think about knowing that you need support. And instead of getting angry, resenting your husband, blaming, using judgments towards him, just creating a really hostile environment, what if you just said, hey, I need some support, period. He's going to take that a lot better, trust me, from experience. He's going to take that a lot better than you just getting upset, you yelling, you blaming, you judging. And it's so easy, especially when we've done it our whole life, to just fly into blame, fly into shame. That's a lot of people's triggers. I notice a lot of moms saying, I start blaming my husband. I start shaming when I have a need for X. So how can you dissect your patterns, which this again is something that we teach in the Calm Mama Blueprint. But how do you dissect that to actually understand what's going on for you so you can identify it? Okay, so let me show you some of the universal needs here. I'm gonna read some off because I think it's really important to understand that. And I'm going to read you the ones that I see the most common in my practice, but I just want you to know, I want you to just fully hear and just know these needs matter just as much as your basic needs. Your basic needs, they are your foundation, right? But these needs, without knowing them, without learning what they are for you, identifying them in any singular moment, if you can't do that, you can't communicate that to the people around you, it is so hard to get unstuck from your anger, from your rage, from your frustration, your burnout, your anxiety, all of it. I even see myself using anxiety as a tool at times. So, okay, let me get into these needs here. Okay, so we've got your basic needs defined by nonviolent communication, which are your food, water, rest, safety, security, shelter, touch. Those are your very basics. Which is interesting because touch is super, super basic. But it is something that I don't think we think of often. Okay, let's go to, where should I start? All right, let's start in the rest category. So we have a need for balance, for ease, for relaxation, for wholeness. In the understanding, autonomy, authenticity category, we have a need for choice, for awareness, for empathy, acceptance, power, acknowledgement, honesty, communication, congruence, consideration, consistency, to be heard, to be seen, to be known, to be respected. In the play, community, belonging category, we have cooperation, to have a need for fun, for humor, for joy, relaxation, again, peace, harmony, hospitality, welcoming. In the play, community, belonging category, we have abundance, appreciation, a need for exercise, for gratitude, achievement, productivity, for celebration, for growth and learning, sustainability, participation, for support, help, purpose, value. In the safety and security category, we have comfort, confidence, familiarity, rhythm, structure, protection, trust, faith. Then last, in the love and caring category, we have affection and warmth, closeness and touch, companionship, compassion, kindness, intimacy, mattering, and importance. So these are all these hypothetical needs that are just so vitally important to our well-being. It's so important to getting out of the cycles that we're in, to creating an environment for our child that is healthy, that is calm, that is peaceful. All these things that we really crave and we desire to be as a mom, we're just struggling to get there. And it starts with understanding our needs, getting to the root of our needs, accepting that we actually have them and we actually need to meet them. And that's actually the biggest and greatest gift that we can ever give to our children. It matters. You matter. Your life matters. Your children need you. And they need you to show up in a way that they can trust, that they can feel safe, that they can gain attachment, that they can have attachment with you. And if you are not that space, if you are not meeting your needs, you are not that space for them. And so this is just foundational for moms to understand. So I want to thank you for being with me today in today's episode. If you have any questions, make sure that you comment them below. If you enjoyed this episode and you have a mom friend who is really struggling in motherhood, who has a lot of needs and also doesn't see them all at the same time, this might be a great episode to send her to encourage her today. If you want to dive deeper in your journey of becoming the mom you've always wanted to be, I want to encourage you to come on over to the Calm Mama Blueprint and join me there to begin your journey to become the happy, calm, peaceful, confident mom that you've always wanted to be. And if you're not yet subscribed, make sure that you hit that subscribe button as well. And yeah, I think that's everything. So, alrighty, I will see you in the next episode.